and headlines lately from the crime beat, an epidemic of gangland murders, the Mafia moving back into the drug traffic after years of laying off dope as too hot to handle. These developments are being interpreted by some crime experts as signs announcing the emergence of an underworld figure named Carmine Galante as the leading contender for the title of Godfather, the big boss of organized crime. Galente is a little-known figure, almost a phantom. But with some help from law enforcement officials and other experts, we've put together a picture of this shadowy underworld leader. It's a long way from the image created by recent books and movies.
Buonasera. Buonasera. What have I ever done to make you treat me so disrespectfully? If you'd come to me in friendship, then the scum that ruined your daughter would be suffering this very day. And if by chance an honest man like yourself should make enemies, then he would become my enemies. And then they would fear you.
Godfather?
Good.
Marlon Brando, in his romantic portrayal of a godfather, the boss of organized crime. But in reality, today, is there a godfather?
There's no boss of bosses, and there really hasn't been since 1931.
Ralph Salerno, former chief of detectives and expert on the Mafia.
I think what you do have will be that one peer will be more equal than the others on the basis of his personal age or his longevity as a boss. I think at this time, Carmine Galante fits that description.
Carmine Galante, a 67-year-old New Yorker who's been in the ranks of organized crime since his early youth. To his neighbors in Greenwich Village, he appears an ordinary, short, stocky man out walking his dog. To Mafia experts, he is the man responsible, directly or indirectly, for 100 gangland murders. He put together the North American end of the infamous French Connection dope network. Heroin is his racket. He spent 25 years, about half his adult life, in prison. The late underworld czar, Frank Costello, went to the Biltmore Baths every afternoon to hobnob with bankers and merchants. This godfather goes to the YMCA, presumably to keep in shape for the power struggle he's engaged in. His only serious rival in the struggle is this man, Agnello Della Croce, head of one of New York's 5 Mafia families. But most of the experts put their money on Carmine Galante. What kind of man is Galante? Well, he may look more like grandfather than godfather. He speaks French and Spanish fluently, but his English is cluttered with dem and does. He can discourse on Plato and St. Augustine, but he's been diagnosed as a psychopathic personality who can't stand to lose an argument.
Carmine has the type of personality that could control a large group of people involved in criminal activity.
Remo Franceschini heads the intelligence division of the New York City Police Department.
He has a strong willpower, he has great discipline, and if you had to describe him in one word, you describe him as steel. As compared to a lot of the other people on the fringes, you can consider them copper compared to him. All your head of organized crime figures haven't just come in from Wall Street. They came up the tough way. They paid their dues. They had a lot of brushes with the law. They're in a tough, rough business, and the ones that can make it to the top are the ones that emerge leaders.
John W. Fallon is one of the federal drug officials who has followed the career of Galante. If it were a company, they would say, listen, the guy's too old. We'll go for somebody younger.
Well, maybe that's one of the shortcomings of this kind of business. When young people get those ideas, they don't get to be old.
The son of an immigrant from Sicily, he was born here in East Harlem, where he began his career as a sneak thief and leader of a juvenile gang. In the big Brooklyn Mafia gang led by Joe Bonanno, he worked as an enforcer during the mob-ridden 1930s. He was charged and freed in the murder of a policeman, convicted of a payroll robbery and shootout. Made a name for himself in one of the century's biggest political assassinations as the reputed killer of Carlo Tresca, a militant foe of Italian dictator Benito Mussolini. Convicted in 1962 on a narcotics charge, he spent 12 years of a 20-year sentence in the Atlanta penitentiary before returning to New York in 1974. Galente considers himself a devout Catholic and has never divorced his wife. Now, Galente lives with his mistress of 20 years on New York's fashionable East 38th Street. His legal address is a tenement at 160 Waverly Place in Greenwich Village. If Galente ever lives in a style resembling that of the Godfather in the movies, it's on the weekends at his daughter's home in Hampton Bays, Long Island. In the backyard, he's often seen working a power tiller, continuing the fitness program he adopted while in prison. Inmates said he treated the prison like a health farm. Police say he ran the prison like an assistant warden. Like most Mafia chieftains, Carmine Galante owns a legitimate business. In his case, the L&T Cleaners on Elizabeth Street in New York's Little Italy. Every day, he leaves one of the apartments and moves about the city using different automobiles, none registered in his own name. You can't see him, but he's in this automobile. He makes phone calls from pay booths, meets people in Italian bakeries, restaurants, and waterfront bars, obviously aware that he is under surveillance. Lieutenant Franceschini.
He's concerned about electronic surveillances. He's concerned about observations. However, he still has to make these meets because his organization, he may be controlling 200 people directly, and underneath them, you figure another thousands of people are involved. Like any other corporate leader, he has to have meetings.
In addition to his travels around the city, Galente also travels to Miami, Chicago, St. Louis, Los Angeles, making allegiances, police say, among the estimated 26 mob families around the country. This picture was made when Galente arrived in Disneyland on a business trip. Police say the business was dope. The reports on Galente's emergence as the new boss of all bosses portray him as a kind of throwback, determined to enforce the old Mafia standards of loyalty and discipline, determined to take a larger share of the lucrative drug business. But what does he really control? Is the Cosa Nostra really an organization, or just a bunch of thugs and gamblers freelancing on their own? Ralph Salerno.
A bookmaker in New York on a football weekend can pick up a telephone, lay off $5,000, $10,000, or $15,000 in bets with someone 1,000 or 2,800 miles away whom he's never met. Both gentlemen at the end of that telephone line are completely confident that if it's a winning bet or a losing bet, their accounts will be credited, and that system is not run by the Federal Reserve Bank of the United States.
But is it as well organized as we have been led to believe with such movies as The Godfather and in any number of novels, and for that matter, recent newspaper reports?
No, I think there is a tendency to over-formalize it. It's not that at all.
Right. How is the organization set up as of today?
It's a series of individual groups who know each other, can get together, can give mutual aid and support to each other. The bookmaker in San Diego is accommodating the bookmaker in New York when he lays off with him, and the reverse will hold true.
How much money is syndicate crime dealing in on a year-by-year basis?
We can give you some hard statistics. I know it takes 6 to 8 tons of heroin coming into the country to supply the needs of all the addicts in this country at approximately $30,000 an ounce. Uncut, pure, coming into the country. Well, you know, you multiply the ounces into the tons and you've got a very, very big number. It's a couple of $2 billion. The lowest figure ever placed on illegal gambling in the United States is that it yields a net profit of $6 to $7 billion a year. Loan sharking would be anybody's guess.
You're saying with a B,
business.
billion.
Billion, that's right.
Now, what happens to most of this money?
What do other businessmen do with their money? They reinvest it in other businesses. So in the last 10 years, organized crime has been buying real estate in California and in Colorado and in Arizona or anywhere else in the Sun Belt where buying real estate is a big business.
In the coming months, you can expect to be reading more headlines like these. They won't be about the mob's legitimate business, but about the power struggle for control of the rackets. And now you've met the man the experts expect to come out on top. He's Carmine Galante.